Welcome back to another interesting and exciting lesson. Your teacher for today is no other than Miss T. Ebert. In today's lesson, you will be learning about data communication. By the end of the lesson, students should be able to define the term data communication, state the different types of data communication channel, explain the term data transmission mode, and differentiate between the types of data transmission mode. Just sit back, relax, and be ready to be edutained. Alright, so you guys must be wondering, what is data communication? Well, data communication can be broadly described as the transmission of data from one location to another for direct use or for further processing. A data communication system is made up of hardware, software, and communication facilities. Communication system may be set up to serve a small area, or they may be set up on a global scale. Remember, in our previous lesson we spoke of hardware and software? Well, hardware, we said, is the physical components of the computer, for example, keyboard, mouse. Software, a set of instructions that tells the computer what to do, the system software. And communication facilities are all the mail, telephone, the wire, radio, and communication channels. Now we'll be looking at data communication channels. Data in any communication system is moved from one location to another via a data communication channel or link. These channels are classified according to bandwidth. Have you ever heard of the term bandwidth? Don't worry, Miss Hibbert will tell you all about bandwidth. Well, bandwidth determines the volume of data that can be transmitted in a given time. The wider the bandwidth, the more data it can transmit. Bandwidth can be grouped into three classes of channels, namely narrowband, voiceband, and broadband. Now we're looking at the different channels of bandwidth. The first one is narrow bandwidth, which is almost obsolete. That means we're not really using that anymore. For example, a telegraph system, which transmits data at a slow speed of between 10 and 30 characters per second. That's very, very slow. Secondly, we have voiceband channel, which transmit data at a rate of 1,000 to 8,000 characters per second. A telephone line is a voiceband and is one of the most widely used method of transferring data. And finally, broadband channel, which transmits large volumes of data at a speed of 100,000 characters per second. And you know that is very, very fast. One of our objectives states that you're supposed to be able to define data transmission mode. Well, data transmission mode is also known as communication mode. And this is the transfer of data between two devices using a communication channel that includes an optical fiber, wireless channels, copper wires, and other storage media. There are three types of transmission mode, namely simplex, half duplex, and full duplex. The first data transmission mode that we'll be looking at is simplex. A simplex line permits data to flow in only one direction. You can send or receive data, but not both. For example, television broadcasting, radio broadcasting, and intercom. For a better way for you to understand what simplex is, a one-way road where cars only travel in one direction. It's the same thing with simplex. Data only travels in one direction. Secondly, half duplex. A half duplex line can alternately send and receive data. This means that at any particular time, you can either send data but not receive it, or receive data but not send it. In other words, data can be transmitted in both directions but not at the same time. For example, walkie-talkie or police radio phones. Another example is a single lane, where both cars can travel in both directions but not at the same time. So it's the same thing with half duplex. Information can travel in both directions but not at the same time. Finally, full duplex. A full duplex line can simultaneously send and receive data. In other words, data can be transmitted in both directions at the same time. For example, landline and mobile phones. And continuing to use the example with the road. For example, a two-way road, vehicles can travel at the same time in both directions. So with full duplex, information can be passed in both directions at the same time. Let's do a recap of today's lesson. In today's lesson, we look at data communication, and we said that data communication is a transmission of data from one location to another. We also look at bandwidth, and this is the volume of data that can be transmitted in a given time. Bandwidth is classified into channels, namely narrowband, which transmit data at a slow speed, voice band, which transmit data at a rate of 1,000 to 8,000 characters per second, and broadband, which transmits a large volume of data. After which, we looked at data transmission mode, which is the transfer of data between two devices using a communication channel. There are three types of data communication mode, namely simplex, where data can be transmitted in only one direction. Then we look at half duplex, where data can be transmitted in both directions but not at the same time. And finally, we look at full duplex, where data is transmitted in both directions at the same time. That's it for today, guys. I hope that you have learned something new, and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to hear from you guys again next time. Have yourself a great week.